First things first, you're going to need one of these. This is called a breadboard. Now, some of these might come in larger sizes or even smaller sizes, but this is a pretty small breadboard and is what I'll be using. So you have these two power rails on the side and these main body in the middle. Now, if you kind of look inside, you can see this shine on the inside of the holes. Now, that's because on the inside of a breadboard, there are these metal strips that they're like little tweezers that hold your components in place as you put them in. Now, on the back of a breadboard, there's this adhesive part which you can tear off and see the inner workings. But don't go tearing your breadboards apart just yet. I have done the work and have drawn a little diagram. Granted, this isn't 100% accurate, but for our intents and purposes, it's what we'll be using. Now, as you can see, the power rails are like straight lines going across the length of the breadboard. I'll just leave it here. So they go across the length, and the main body, those rails go like this across the width of the breadboard. Now, to get some jargon out of the way, we have to talk about what a short is. Now, a short is basically a direct connection between any 2 points in a circuit. So if you took a piece of wire like this, and you just connected, say, here and here, we would say that these 2 points are shorted together. Let's talk about connections. Now, most of your components will have 1, 2 legs, and you can think of these as like paths for the electricity to take, where electricity goes in from one end and out the other. So when we're using our breadboard, we want to place the components such that each leg is on a different rail, like this. How one leg of this mystery component is here and the other leg is on this rail, so the electricity can flow through the component, down, and through the other rail. We don't want this. We don't want the component's legs to be on the same rail. Likewise, you can also look at it like this. We don't want it to be on the same rail. We want the legs to be on different rails so the electricity can flow through them. Now, let's do a little exercise. Take an LED. It should look something like this. It has 2 different sized legs and this little bulb piece at the top. And take your breadboard and place one leg in one main body rail and another leg like this. So you can see how one leg is here and one leg is here. Now, since we know these rails go along the width, these 2 legs are on separate rails. If I instead placed it like this, both of these legs would be on the same rail and nothing would happen. We don't want that. Likewise, with the power rails, this is placing both legs on the same rail, and this is placing it on 2 different rails. Now that we understand how breadboards work, we can begin looking at some of the components. Let's start with the simple stuff. This is a jumper wire, or jumper for short. It's just a piece of wire. You can use it to connect 2 points in a circuit, remember, like a short, So you can put the 2 leads anywhere in a breadboard that you want. Go ahead and try that right now. See, you just take one end, that kind of looks like a needle, line it up with the hole, and just press it in, and it should go in. Don't press it too hard at an angle, otherwise these tips have a tendency to bend, and that's not good. So when you're placing it in the breadboard, just try aligning it with your finger and just press straight down. It'll take a bit of work, but I believe in you. This is an LED. They come in different colors, and they usually come with 2 different sized legs. Now, that's not a mistake on the manufacturer's part. These are actually like special little light bulbs that can come in whatever color you want and can only work in one direction, meaning if you place them backwards, then they won't turn on. And the long leg is where the positive terminal of the battery should go, and the short leg is where the negative terminal of the battery should go. I'll get to talking about more complex jargon in our next video, but for now, you can just think of it as a one-way light bulb. This thing is called a dip switch. Now, it's basically just a little sort of set of switches that they're like light switches. You can turn them on and you can turn them off. We won't be using buttons in this lesson because those are a bit complex and you need to hold them down. Now I'll just be using a pencil to switch them back and forth, but you can see they're just like ordinary light switches. And the side that says on is basically the side at which the switch is on. So if a switch is in this position, then the switch is on or closed. And if the switch is like this, the switch is off or open. This is a resistor. It's an interesting little gadget because it resists the flow of electricity and dissipates it as heat. Now, there's a lot of complex math, well, semi-complex math, involved in, reading these resistance values and, dropping and adding voltages. But for now, all of the resistors I'll be using are 220 ohms. And someday I might make a video where I show you how to read these color bands, but for now, we're just going to be using 220 ohm resistors. And for convenience, I've cut mine so they sit flush against the breadboard, but yours will probably have longer legs and they might also be blue. But just because they're blue doesn't mean their resistance has changed. Only the color bands determine the resistance. Now for the last piece, this is a common breadboard power supply. It looks pretty complicated and scary with all these different components and chips and all that, but it's okay. All we need to do with our power supply is to take a look at these points right here. See how there's a plus and a minus? We need to align that with the plus and minus power rails on our breadboard. Make sure that the little legs line up with all the holes. It's okay to give them a good squeeze and just snap it in. And just like that, our breadboard will have power. I'll just be using a 9-volt battery and a little clip, and you just plug it in like that. You can turn it on and you can turn it off. Well, that just about wraps everything up. If you learned something new, want some help, or just want to say hi, be sure to drop me a comment down below or message me on my personal Discord. Be sure to subscribe so you know when part 2 of our little series comes out. And thank you for watching. This is Codex, signing off.